Hello, everybody. We are live here with Katrina, who is a co-founder of OneStory.com, serial entrepreneur, and you're just a local role model here in Saskatoon with all of your tech that you're doing and all the amazing things you're doing. So tell me your story of how you started, getting into becoming an entrepreneur.
Well, I think I've always sort of had that entrepreneurial spirit, I guess you can call it, where if you want to get something done, you just sit down and do it. And if it's a solution that doesn't exist, you try to come up with a solution.
Right.
So I've always had a lot of different types of jobs. I worked in nonprofit for years. I had a video production company for a while. I published a children's book just because I wanted to try that project. So I had all sorts of really kind of fun projects that happen. But it's, the biggest project I've had recently is OneStory.com.
Yeah.
And so what it is One Story, just to let people know what it is basically the ability to create and share video interviews in a really easy way online. So people use this for hiring, they use this for public awareness campaigns, and all the videos that are created are all branded with the logo of the organization asking the questions.
Nice.
So we, kind of have some really cool components of One Story that make it unique. It is a technology startup, which has its own, challenges and fun industry parts of it. And it's an interesting challenge too, and unique to be. There's a handful of technology startups in Saskatoon, but it's not the most common path forward here. So anyway, One Story has been my biggest thing that I've been working on lately, and it's been quite an entrepreneurial challenge and a lot of fun too. Working on it in different ways. So.
Awesome. No, that's awesome. We're on Facebook Live right now.
Give me 1 second and I'll share it to mine.
Oh, you're gonna share as well?
I'll share it to mine.
Okay,
this is like meta.
All right, so anyone who's watching right now, you can start asking questions, and we'll get your questions in about 10 minutes. So keep tuning in, and we'll just continue to keep rolling. So Katrina, serial entrepreneur, you are on to the next, amazing process of your next business you're starting, but what kind of fueled the fire for becoming an entrepreneur for yourself? Because we all have a story, and there's always the underlying story of what kind of triggered someone to become an entrepreneur. What is that story?
So I think the moment I was kind of ready to actually do it, right? Like I've been dabbling. I've been working full time at different jobs and kind of doing things on the side and playing with different projects. Yeah. I think the time that I was ready to just jump in and work for myself and start a company kind of boiled down to I was a single parent for quite a period of time, and it's challenging to find jobs that can work. I have 2 young boys, and that you can be able to take off when you need to for them because they're sick, or being able to work around their school schedules when they're young, and so it basically just kind of boiled down to necessity, where I was like, I need to have my own schedule, but I also need to get paid for it, and so that's kind of the challenge where I finally ended up jumping off into that space. And now I think I'm probably ruined for working for a regular job because I really enjoy charting my own path and being able to pick something that you just love and chasing it.
I definitely know I definitely know the feeling you're talking about right now. So for any viewer out here, what compared to a 9-to-5 worker during the week that's committed to as being an employee compared to being an employer, what are the perks of that?
The employee versus employer relationship. Yeah. Well, there's always different challenges, right? And you're stretching yourself in different skills depending on what you're doing. There's different kinds of entrepreneurs too, right? There's a lot of entrepreneurs that just work for themselves, have a single solo thing that they're doing going forward. And that has its own challenges too, right? Where you're trying to get 400 million things done. You may not be skilled in some areas, things like that are tricky. And then having a team, all of a sudden that you're leading, that has its own, different challenges of how do you motivate everybody? How do you find enough money to pay everybody?
Many times I've been there.
How do you, just find the right people and, fill the gaps that you need in your business? So I love being an entrepreneur because part of it is you just have to recognize there's rarely a time that you're just coasting. You're like, hey, everything's perfect. I really nailed it. I'm finally there. You're just kind of always figuring out the next thing that you want to do.
So for any viewer out there right now, that's a key point is you're not, when you're have your own business and the next meal or the next daycare payment or the next rent payment is on the line, you kind of have to tap into things you never knew you could tap into. And I think Katrina is getting to that. Is we just have a different lifestyle, and you're 24/7 on, and it's a commitment.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a commitment.
Absolutely.
And I really like Katrina's story because she was a single parent, and she did that as a single parent. She's built her business as a single parent. So I think that's big inspiration to anyone who's watching you today. So, do you have any further inspiration for other? Because I know there's a lot of single parents out there. So, do you have any further words for them that might help them?
Yes. Well, I think, I mean, I'm no longer a really wonderful and supportive partner now. So that's also something that is really important in your entrepreneurial journey, is to be with somebody who understands and supports you in that. But when I was a single parent and doing it, it was very challenging, because it wasn't just that I needed to, pay for this project to happen. I also needed to make sure that mortgage was paid, to make sure kids have clothes, and they want to eat every day. Kids want to eat every day.
Absolutely.
And, and so it's something where I think that also adds that fuel to your desire to succeed, where you're like, I want my sons to see this work. I want them to have a very good life, and I want to provide that for them. So, I think it probably almost makes you a little bit more hungry for success and making things work than if you're just kind of like, hey, I'm just going to try this, that kind of a motivation.
Absolutely.
So I guess that would be, that I guess it's harder. It's not an easy thing to do as a parent. And, but it's also something where if you can channel that energy, that passion, that let's do this, into something that you love, your kids are going to see the benefit, whether that's financial or just seeing their parent in a passionate, work and enjoying
doing what they love.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest teachers we can teach our kids is, as long as your parents are happy doing what they love and they're going through obstacles in a healthy way, that's good, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So I get a lot of questions personally about technology and how it's always changing, websites, creating websites. And I think you are definitely one of our local experts here that can help anyone out there who might be watching. What kind of advice do you have in terms of technology, building websites, and driving people to websites?
Yes, no, and those are actually all kind of different things. And I would actually even argue, before you begin sort of mapping out, what that looks like for you and what your project is going to be and who your audience is. That's the biggest thing that you're going to do. So, for you have a certain group of people that you're trying to reach with Niche Gear. And so, who are they? Where are they? What type of messaging on the website is going to appeal to them? And then how do you get them there? And so, for the practical part of setting up a website, there's actually some really, it's gotten much easier than it was even 5 years ago. You can always hire, great services who have, and they range in prices. Some people will do it for $1,000 or $500. Some people will do it for $20,000. It just depends on your budget. There's also, if you're interested, there's things like WordPress, which are very robust, great systems, but you do still need some skills in order to set that up. So something that I've been learning a lot about lately is virtual workers, and there's entire groups of people. There's different websites like Upwork and Fiverr.com, where basically if you find a WordPress theme, and the place that I go to is Theme Forest all the time. If you find a WordPress theme that you like, and you're like, this is beautiful, I want my website to look like this with my own images and my own looks. You can actually, and you look, but you download it and you're like, you pay $50 for it and you're like, okay, now what?
Absolutely.
So they actually, you can just hire someone virtually who just does it all day long, installs WordPress themes, they'll get it ready and up for you in a short period of time. They'll tell you what they need. And
so those websites are Upwork and Fiverr. So if you need cheap services and you're on a budget and you can't find someone locally, those websites are awesome for finding someone to build websites and even grow your website and try to find ways to funnel people there. So
absolutely,
and they're all over the world, right? So
it's people all over the world, and a lot of the it's for some people it's a really great salary for them to be making in their local area. So you're actually kind
of exchange rate, right?
Exactly. So you're kind of you're helping out somebody in a different country in some ways, and you're letting you're working with someone who has a very specific skill of just putting a WordPress up, and so they can knock it off really quickly and give you a good product for something cheap.
Very cool. So Katrina, we've known each other for I don't know how many years, probably 3-4 years roughly.
Yes.
I've seen you, through networking events, which is key to anyone who's
Yes.
trying to grow a business or trying to get into business. Is networking is huge. That's how me and Katrina became acquainted, and I just seen her business grow from nothing to something. And that's the beauty of it, right? It's a rush. It's a rush. It's a ride. Do you have any advice to anyone who's watching today in terms of how important it is to ask for help, whether it be through mentors, whether it be through support system, and so on?
Absolutely. I can't actually say how crucial and how important it is to have a network around you, because there's so many things you don't know, and that's okay. Nobody knows everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's really something that when you have a group of people that are surrounding you, and you can go to them and say, I don't know how to handle this hiring issue, or I need funding for this particular project I want to do,
right.
And then they can be like, you know what, I know the person to introduce you to, I know here's the email. Having a mentor is people that you can trust and just confide in, and it won't, that's actually just so crucial to have a really strong community.
Do you have anyone who's kind of inspired you to pursue the business that you've created, or any future businesses you plan to create? Is there anyone?
Yeah. No, there's some people locally definitely who've just created amazing businesses, and they, I think about the guys at Zoo, Tony and Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
They built, a website company called zoo.com, and they have not only built the company, but they've also created an entire ecosystem of technology companies of, as people going off starting startups and, and giving people employment in that world, and it's just done a really excellent job of supporting and nurturing young people. And new people in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
But I would also say, just in terms of overall life, because I'm a female entrepreneur too, I like to really look to other female entrepreneurs and see what they have, what they've done. And so, there's some people who have something against Oprah, but I don't. I think she's been, Oprah. To me, she, went against all the odds and really built an entire empire based around trying to do good in the world.
Exactly.
And so something for me that I think that's a really incredible thing that she's done.
Mm-hmm.
There's also, just like local women or, Canadian women that have just done exceptional jobs and, done a really good job of doing good in the world, changing the world, making the place a better place for women to work, and also,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely agree. And I think you're already one of those people here for anyone who's watching. She's raised her boys for a long time, single-handed. She grew a business. She found other people to look up to through inspiration. Do you currently mentor anyone locally, or have you had success with that? And if so, what has it been for you?
Kind of, smaller bits. I have to admit I've used, had mentors more than,
that's good.
Then I think I'm still in that learning space myself of trying to figure out, but it sort of happened naturally and organically. I think we have a really great group of people who are all in business, who all get together and talk and, and learn from each other. So
What do you call that? What do you call that?
Is that peer-to-peer mentoring? Is that what
is that
what the term is?
Yeah.
But I think I've had the opportunity to meet some really lovely people at Women in Business thing at the University of Saskatchewan, and so I followed up with a couple of those women and tried to connect them into a few things that I can.
Very cool.
I've had so many people help me. I always, if I get a request for help, I always want to see what I can do to pay that forward.
Kind of pay it forward and try to help other people, right?
Yeah.
So what's next for Katrina right now? Do you have anything you want to share with anyone or what you're working on?
Well, actually, there's always, cool things happening with One Story and with other projects.
Yeah.
One of the things I am working on, though, is my personal brand. I see what you're doing. Actually, you were an inspiration for me on this.
Yeah.
And you sharing a lot of what you're doing, and for me, I do a lot of speaking, and I been fortunate enough to meet some really incredible people in marketing and communications and business around Canada and the US. And so I want to be taking a lot of those lessons learned from those people, those little nuggets and cool stories that people are telling, and be able to share them. So I've started a new, it's not quite ready, but if you want to check out the website, you can always sign up.
I'll post Katrina's contact on the videos today, so you guys can get if you guys have any questions, maybe have some cool ideas for her. You can shoot them to her, and I'm sure she'll be able to have a conversation with you. So
yes, absolutely.
So Katrina, before we wrap it up today, I know you're busy. Every entrepreneur I know is busy, always has something on the go. So I don't want to get too much of your time today. Do you have any words of encouragement to anyone who might be sitting on the fence as a potential entrepreneur and might be telling themselves right now, I don't know if I could do this?
Yes. Number one, you're not going to know unless you try.
Yes. Boom.
You just won't know.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen for sure if you don't try.
Right.
But I also think too, there's always that, I'm a bit more of a conservative when it comes to encouraging people into entrepreneurship.
Right.
In that I believe that passion and inspiration can take you really far, but you also need to have the right framework and business skills and that sort of thing to take it there, and financial backing and that sort of thing.
Right.
So sometimes, it might be worth getting that together, working for 2 years in a similar industry before you're ready to jump out, or if maybe you're just ready, just ready and go,
Absolutely.
So, but I also, like I said, I'm a bit of conservative on that, where I'm just like, make sure you're ready, because it's a big thing. It's not something, it's a lifestyle change. It's not something that you can do lightly, because it's not going to work. You have to pretty much go all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
or don't.
Yeah.
And so really, that's kind of my advice, I guess, is I think sober thought about it is actually worth it. It's, if you're sitting on the fence and not sure whether you're ready to move or not, that's okay. Take your time until you're ready, but be continuously putting things in place so that you're finally eventually ready.
Yeah. Do you have any secrets to success that maybe a lot of people don't know about you that you've done, whether it be through personal development, whether it be through coaching, that have helped you to get a slight edge over a competitor or someone else even in the industry?
A little bit of success.
Yeah.
I don't know why this just jumped into my mind, but this is my mom's advice.
Yeah.
Never trust someone who says, trust me, because they're trying to convince you of something. And so there's that little nugget, where it's kind of like, if you really do have to trust your gut on a lot of cases, and there's a few little triggers and things that you can notice happening that you can kind of be watching for.
That's huge. I've never heard that before, actually.
That was my mom's nugget, and I always think that's a solid one. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So.
Oh, and I have one more too. Learn the rules so you know how to break them properly. That's another one. That's not my mom's. I don't know where I got that one.
Very cool. That reminds me of a quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he says, "Break the rules, but not the law."
Oh, hey.
Just go outside the box, and that's how you get ahead, apparently. So
that's right.
Don't break the law, but you can break some rules to get ahead, which is cool. Katrina, any last words before we wrap it up here to any of our viewers? Where can we find you?
You can find me at katrinagerman.com. You can also find me at onestory.com. And most of all, my very last words are, this guy is amazing. He is also developing such an incredible network and trying to really help people take that entrepreneurial journey in the smoothest way possible. And you are a leader in the community. And I just, I thank you for having me on here, and also for everything that you're doing to develop, what's the entrepreneurial community in Saskatchewan. It's huge.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Katrina. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I'll post Katrina's contacts below, and you can give her a shout through her email, check out her Facebook page, website, and so on. Thank you so much, Katrina.
Yes.
You guys have a great day, and we'll see you guys soon again.
Thank you.